Hello everyone, Team709 here on the Illumi YouTube channel for this week's Deck Doctor segment. This week we will be covering stormanator01's Satellarknight deck. I don't know if we've actually covered Satellarknights on this channel before or not. I don't remember off the top of my head, of course. But it's always been kind of something, a deck that's actually been pretty cool in my opinion, and it's kind of like an updated version of the whole Constellar thing to me, and I really like the Constellar deck, so it's kind of a personal favorite of mine. So I mean, it's just something really cool to me, so I figured we'd cover it. And yeah, so let's just get into his build and we'll get into the fixed build and cover the changes, etc. So starting off with his monsters, we have 2 Satellarknight Unu Kalhai, I think that's how it's pronounced, 3 Satellarknight Altair, 1 Satellarknight Sirius, 3 Satellarknight Deneb, and 3 Satellarknight Vega as his monsters. Spells, we have 1 Raigeki, 3 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Soul Charge, 2 Potted Duality, 2 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Book of Moon, and 3 Forbidden Chalice. For his traps, we have 3 Dimensional Prisons, 2 Breakthrough Skills, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 3 Call of the Haunted, 2 Wiretap, 3 Stellar Nova Alpha, and 1 Solemn Warning. For the extra deck, we have 1 Constellar Ptolemy M7, 1 Stellarknight Deltros, and I always like to call it Satellarknight Deltros, whatever. It's a weird habit of mine. Continuing on, we have 1 Dark Rebellion Exceeds Dragon, 1 Cairn Gorgon Anti-Luminescent Knight, 2 Constellar Omega, 2 Stellarknight Triver. I think it's how that's kind of pronounced. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. 1 Heroic Champion Gandiva, 1 Heroic Champion Excalibur, 1 Castel the Skyblaster Musketeer, 1 Star Liege Paladin Ammo, 1 Evilstorm Exciting Knight, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, and 1 number 80 Rhapsodian Berserk. So that is Stormanator01's build, so let's just get into the fixed build. So yay, fixed build. So let's just cover this and then we'll go over the changes. Starting off with the monsters, we have 2 Unu Kalhai, 3 Altairs, 1 Sirius, 3 Deneb, and 3 Vega. I believe the other Satellarknight that I was considering putting in here was Procyon, or Procyon, something like that. I'm not entirely sure how it's pronounced. It's the one where you discard a Satellarknight whenever it's summoned and you can draw another card. I kind of want to make room in here somehow, but I'm not entirely sure how I would go about doing it because there's a lot of cards in here that I wouldn't want to really take out. I'll kind of cover one of the cards that I would consider, but we'll get to that when we're done with the covering it. Moving on to the spells, we have 1 Raigeki, 3 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Soul Charge, 2 Potted Duality, 3 Mystical Space Typhoons, 2 Forbidden Chalice. For traps, we have 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, 2 Dimensional Prisons, 2 Breakthrough Skills, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 2 Vanity's Emptiness, 1 Soul Drain, 3 Call of the Haunted, 3 Stellar Nova Alpha, and 1 Solemn Warning. Extra deck, we have 1 Stellarknight Deltaros, 1 Cairn Gorgon Anti-Luminescent Knight, 1 number 103 Ragna 0, 1 Constellar Omega, 1 Stellarknight Triver, 1 Heroic Champion Gandiva, 1 number 50 Black Ship of Corn, 2 Castel the Skyblaster Musketeer, 1 Star Liege Paladin Ammo, 1 Evilstorm Exciting Knight, 1 Bujinte Tsukiyomi, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, and 1 number 80 Rhapsodian Berserk. So the thing I kind of wanted to talk about that I would kind of consider trying or replacing for Procyon or whatever it's called would be probably Raigeki. I feel like it would be something you might want to move to the side deck and try it. It's an extra name, and with 3 Vegas, obviously you don't want to end up like drawing into only like 2 Vegas in your hand. And I've kind of tested around with it, and it's kind of back and forth really. Raigeki is a solid card. I'm pretty sure everyone's in agreement on that, but there's also the fact that having that extra name might actually make a bit of a difference. So I'm still kind of iffy between having Raigeki still in the deck and being able to play Procyon in the main, and actually keeping the Raigeki in the main. So it's kind of back and forth. So it's something that I recommend actually trying back and forth between, and seeing which one plays better for you. just kind of wanted to cover that first. So as you notice, there was really no change to the monsters. I really don't feel like you need to play less than Vega, or like 3 Vega. I can understand why some people play 1 copy or 2 copies, etc., but 3 isn't really bad. And with a low monster count, you kind of want to have as many of like what you can actually use that's good as you can pretty much get. Unucal, I've never really liked more than 2. It is an 1800 beat stick, and I've understood that some people in the past have played 3 just because it's a decent beat stick, but I don't feel like any more than that is necessary, so that's why we didn't really change that up. And of course, Sirius is there to kind of act as your Deguster Emerald. I mean, it's just better to kind of have it and not have to waste one of your Exceed plays on an Emerald. I mean, I don't know if I really need to explain it all that much, but yeah. So anyways, things that we dropped from the main deck, I'm just going to cover this and then we'll cover what we added. Things we dropped from the main deck, we dropped one of the Forbidden Chalices, 1 Book of Moon, 1 Dimensional Prisons, and 2 Wiretaps. We added, in favor of those cards, a 3rd Mystical Space Typhoon, the Bottomless Trap Hole, the 2 Vanities, and the Soul Drain. Soul Drain's there for whenever you run into... It's kind of useful against the Shaddoll matchup, obviously, because they activate in the grave. Can't really stop like their flip effects, of course, because, but you can use it against the Shaddoll matchup, you can use it against Burning Abyss, etc. It's just a solid card to kind of have, and it doesn't really hurt you at all either. Like I guess if you want to kind of count tributing off Triver or Deltaros for Nova and them activating your graveyard, yes, that's kind of a thing, I guess. But I mean, the odds of that actually happening all that often aren't very likely due to the fact that it's at 1, of course. But it's still very solid to have for the, again, the Shaddoll matchup and the Burning Abyss matchups. So kind of just, wanted to throw that in there. So, I mean, there's that. Vanities, I don't know if I really need to explain that all that much. It's a really solid card. You can respond to something and prevent them from making their play, and it's not exactly hard for you yourself to play around it. It's just a really good card. I don't really think I need to explain Vanities. Bottomless is something that I kind of am... I see a lot of people not playing it, but at the same time, it seems very, very solid right now. Cliff Forts, if they happen to pendulum like a whole bunch of cards, you can really punish them by getting rid of all of them, basically. And the same kind of applies to a lot of other decks. The only thing that I know that this card's not all that really great against is Burning Abyss. I mean, sure, if they bring out like a rank 3 that has a lot of attack or something, yeah, then you can bottomless it, but Dante comes out at 1,000, and a good chunk of the Burning Abyss monsters, they can easily just get under bottomless, so I can kind of understand that. It might be something you would want to side out, I don't know, but it's something that I've personally found to be useful while testing the fixed build out, and I tested this a lot against Cliff Forts as well as Shaddolls. It plays pretty well against both matchups, at least for me. I don't know, everyone has their own way of playing their decks, I suppose, so that's something to kind of factor in. But yeah, and then the last thing in the main deck was the Mystical Space Typhoon. Vanities can be a problem for you if you can't play around it. You kind of want your Vanities to put pressure on your opponent, and you really don't want your opponent's Vanities doing anything to you, let alone things like Skill Drain and stuff like that Cliff Forts can play. And having that 3rd MST will make sure that, or at least help make sure that, you're not going to get that card that just shuts you down, so to speak. So that's pretty much all that was changed in the main deck. For the extra deck, we dropped one of the Trivers. I don't really think 2 is necessary. The Excalibur, the Rebellion Dragon, or one of the Omegas, the Ptolemy. I don't really think that you need more than 1 Omega, and as a result, the Ptolemy is really not all that necessary. I suppose that even with just 1 Omega, you could still play the Ptolemy, but it doesn't really seem worth it at that point. And we kind of made room for the Ragna Zero, a 2nd Castell, the Tsukiyomi, the Black Ship of Corn, and an Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is kind of like that added Soul Drain. You can use it against the Shaddoll matchup as well as the Burning Abyss matchup, so it kind of helps apply even more to those matchups. And a lot of my friends that I've talked to kind of say that they run into more Burning Abyss than a lot of other things, so having that extra pressure against decks like that is really nice to have, especially if you're expecting to run into them a lot. So, and I'm kind of expecting, as in general for meta, it's something you're going to run into quite a lot. So I mean, there's that. Black Ship of Corn, it's kind of good for getting rid of things like the Cliff Forts. If they come out and their attack gets reduced, and it's like, okay, it's lower than my 2100, I can just send it to the graveyard. Of course, I mean, it's just good for kind of getting threats off the board, or not necessarily threats, but like annoying cards, so to speak. I guess it's like the best way to put that. Tsukiyomi is there to kind of help you get more cards, of course. Like if you have only one card in your hand, or like if you have a Satellarknight in your hand, you can drop it, and then if you have Call the Haunted Set or something, you can either activate it then, or you can wait to activate it at your opponent's end phase, or whenever the hell you feel like it's, you know, necessary. And all the while still, again, drawing 2 cards, which is very nice. Ragna Zero, I don't know if I need to really explain this all that much. It's kind of just there for, again, the Cliff Fort matchup. You can use it. Okay, you bring it out at, you know, 1800, and that's obviously not its original attack, so I'll just blow it up and draw a free card. You know, cool stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if I really need to explain too much else. The changes don't seem very major, and the only other thing I would kind of recommend, if you haven't already got one in your side deck already, is siding the wiretaps. They're useful against things like vanities, of course, but they're also useful against things like, you know, skill drains and other things that might otherwise potentially shut down your deck. But at the same time, like, it doesn't seem like something that's really main deck worthy. If you feel like you need to have that trap negation, I feel like it would be better off in your side deck. Unless you were doing something like Trap Stones or something and decided that you were going with an explosive play type of deck rather than, you know, but that's, I guess, just me. So, like I said, I don't know if I really have anything else that I really need to explain. I do hope that the fixed build works well for stormanator01 as well as anyone else that decides to play the build. I enjoy playing this build, actually. And I hope that everyone else that plays the build will enjoy it as well. If you guys have a deck that you would like to get fixed, be sure to message it here on the No Limit YouTube channel by going to the channel, going to the About section, and clicking Send Message. Feel free to send it to us via Dropbox in the form of a YDK file, or you can type it out in Monster Spells, Traps, Extra Decks, Extra Deck, and just send it, you know, that way. And hopefully we can get to it in the upcoming weeks. So yeah. Again, I hope that the build works well for stormanator01 as well as anyone else that plays it. And yeah, be sure to stay tuned for next time. And until next time, this is Team709 signing out.